No,
We're all set here.
okay.
Good evening and welcome to tonight's telephone town hall with Mayor Stephanie Rawlings Blake. My name is Gus Augustus and I will be the moderator for tonight's event. Tonight we are discussing issues that are important to you and your community. We will begin in just a moment and we are excited to have you join us today. Before we begin, a few quick points to make. Right now, we're in the process of dialing out to thousands of people. So just stay on the line, and we'll be hearing from Mayor Rawlings Blake shortly. Also, we want to hear from you. If you would like to ask a question of Mayor Rawlings Blake, please press 0 on the telephone keypad, and you'll be connected directly with one of our volunteer operators. Again, at any time during the call, please press 0 to ask a question. If you have just joined us, good evening and welcome to tonight's telephone town hall with Mayor Rawlings Blake. I'm Gus Augustus, and I'll be the moderator for tonight's event. Tonight, we are discussing issues that matter to you and your community. We're going to begin in just a moment, and thanks for joining us. Right now, we're in the process of dialing out to thousands of neighbors in the city of Baltimore. So stay on the line, and we will hear from Mayor Rawlings Blake shortly. If you want to ask a question, again, if you want to ask a question of Mayor Rawlings Blake, please press 0 at any time during the call. At any time, press 0 to ask a question or make a comment. And now, without further delay, here is Mayor Stephanie Rawlings Blake.
Thank you so much, Gus. I want to thank all of the Baltimore City residents who are on tonight's call. I'm very excited to have another opportunity to speak with all of you on the line tonight. As you know, a key goal of my administration is to grow Baltimore City by 10,000 families over the next decade. In order to grow a city, you have to both attract new residents while also giving those residents already here more reasons to stay. For me, that means a few things: better schools, safer streets, communities free of blight, property tax cuts, as well as good jobs in communities that need them the most. We've achieved a lot so far, including a historic $1 billion in new school construction money that will result in the construction or renovation of numerous Baltimore City schools. Also, city residents are experiencing the largest property tax cut that they've seen in more than a decade, resulting in an average homeowner saving more than $200 on their bill. And that number will continue to grow each year under my 10-year financial plan. Thousands of new jobs are being created thanks to the Horseshoe Casino, the Red Line Project, and new businesses coming into the city, such as Amazon and Pandora. Hundreds of vacant properties have been demolished, and they're being rehabbed as new, affordable housing options for residents through my Vacants to Value initiative. And we've negotiated a new police contract that will get more officers out of their cars and on the streets to patrol our neighborhoods. This past summer jobs program was working at capacity, placed nearly 5,600 young people in summer jobs. A couple of months ago, new recreation center in Morrill Park. First recreation center built in 10 years from the ground up, and we will open another recreation center in Cherry Hill in 2016 as a part of our plan to rebuild bigger and better community centers. My administration has introduced legislation which will generate $40 to $60 million in additional revenue to make even more investments in recreation and expand community centers across Baltimore. But even with this success, I'm still not satisfied. I know that there are residents who remain in need of assistance, and I want to hear those concerns tonight and work together on solutions to grow our city. Thank you very much, and I'm going to turn it back over to Gus to open it up for questions.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And before we go into the Q&A portion, I just would like to remind those of you who are just joining us on the line, if you would like to ask a question of Mayor Rawlings Blake, please press 0. Again, please press 0 at any time during the call, and we will punch you into a volunteer operator to take your name, your neighborhood, and your issue. I'd like to start off with the first polling question. What issue matters most to you and your families? Press 1 if you believe the most important thing in your neighborhood is public safety. Press 2 if it's education. Press 3 if it's employment opportunities or jobs. Press 4 if it's sanitation. And press 5 if it's transportation. Let me repeat those. Press 1 if it's public safety. Press 2 if it's education or schools. Press 3 if it's employment opportunities. Press 4 if it's sanitation. And press 5 if it's transportation. Madam Mayor, I would like to go to our first caller. We have on the line with us Ms. Sandra. She's calling from Southwest Baltimore. Sandra, you're on the line.
Hello, Mayor Stephanie Rawlings Blake. I was just curious, how often does the police get their reports in the neighborhood? Because I know that the last community meeting that we had, they didn't have their reports ready. And how often does it come out? Because we had a shooting in the neighborhood, and I just recently saw cameras around the house. And not only that, it seemed like, people complain about the crime, but everybody don't stick together. And it seemed like me and my husband, we always say stuff to these people. I don't have no problem saying things, tell them not to hang in front of my house, whatever. But I can't vouch for everybody else in the neighborhood. They see the same thing, but yet they say hi to the family members. But, it'll be okay, or sometimes, say something to them. But I don't have no problem telling people they don't stand in front of my house.
So the crime reports come to the officers and the leadership in the district daily. And I know in Southwest, the Major Hadley is in constant communication with his officers. I was recently with him at the Irvington Community Association meeting where he was talking about wanting better relationships between the community and the police, and really asking for help because he wants the community's help to keep the officers, to make them accountable for the work that he expects them to do when it comes to getting out of the cars and doing the patrols. That's the same thing I heard when I was doing my public safety forums. I went to every single police district in the city, and we had public safety meetings where we talked about how we could work together better. And I'm very pleased at the participation in those meetings, and we're working on developing some we're doing a comprehensive review of the feedback that we got and the concerns that were raised so that we can make the suggested changes based on the information and the feedback we got from the community at those events. I mean, my goal, again, is to make sure that we're working better together. And we have seen an uptick in the amount of information that's coming from the community to the police, but we all know, and I'm sure that you know, that it could always be more. So my recommendation is for you to continue to work closely with the officers and reach out to the Major, because he is very interested in making sure that he hears from his constituents in the Southwest. Again, I was pleased that the amount of information that we're getting from the community as far as crimes is increasing, but the other thing that I'm pleased about is the fact that our discourtesy complaints in the police department are going down, and that's what I want to see more of. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Sandra from Southwest Baltimore. Before we go to our next call, I would like to give the results, Madam Mayor, of our polling questions. 65% of you listeners on the line said that public safety is the most important issue to you in your neighborhood. 12% actually said that education or schools is the most important, followed by a equal 12%. So education and employment are tied at 12%, followed by sanitation at 9% and transportation at 3%. Next on the line, Madam Mayor, we have Miss McMillan Simpson. She's calling from Coleman Avenue. Miss McMillan Simpson, are you on the line?
Yes, I am.
Oh, Mr.
I'd like to know, it's been on the news lately that the mayor is trying to attract 10,000 additional families to Baltimore. What I need to know is, if you attract these people, who's going to pay for it? I don't want any of my money going to any illegal alien or any alien at all when we have people in the city of Baltimore struggling to make it.
So when I talk about my strategy for growing Baltimore, I'm very clear that it's about attracting new residents to Baltimore, and So it's about attracting new residents because, as we all know, Baltimore is a city that was built for, almost 1 million people. We had almost 1 million people in Baltimore at one time. Now we're a little over 600,000, so we certainly have room to grow. But I want you to understand something about my growth strategy. It's not just about attracting new residents, and I'm not sure if you were on the line when I first started talking today. It's about retention, giving people who live here more reasons to stay. That's why I'm working so hard to make Baltimore a safer city. That's why I fought so hard for the school construction money so we could improve our school facilities as our schools continue to improve. That's why I'm looking for creative ways to raise money so we can improve recreation centers throughout the city. All of the work that I'm doing is to strengthen and support families so they want to stay in Baltimore. I think it's unfortunate that when I talk about growing the city, people that it's a negative connotation. No one wants to live in a city that's on a decline, and if we're not focused on growth, we are accepting or managing decline, and I think Baltimore deserves better than that.
Thank you, sir, for your call. Next up, Madam Mayor, we have Mr. Griffin from Southwest Baltimore. Mr. Griffin.
Yes. I'm concerned
You're on the line
about
with Mayor Rawlings Blake.
Yes, hi, Mayor.
Hi, how are you?
I'm okay. I'm just disturbed as I ride across the city and hear a number of complaints and also see the way our policemen are arresting our young men. Number one, targeting them and then arresting them and doing it in a brutal manner. And I mean brutal. And I don't think it's called for, but I think it's more than just a few policemen. I think it's more part of the way they treat our men than it is something that's here and there. And I think that ought to be the number one priority to make the streets safe for our young men and, of course, women, but especially the young men, and recognize that this is really a national problem, and we ought to be a part of the solution to that problem.
So, Mr. Griffin, first, thank you very much for the call, and I am concerned as well. And when I did the public safety forum, we did the public safety tour through each police district of the city. I heard the same concern that you just made this evening. There was a concern about discourtesy, a concern about police brutality, and what I've asked for is a comprehensive review so we can make a complete set of reforms that will help us combat police brutality and discourtesy. One of the units in the police department that was received the highest number of discourtesy and brutality complaints was the unit the Visage unit that I disbanded as mayor because it was important to me that 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 I was clear and kept my word to the community that we wanted to work in partnership. And you can't work in partnership with communities that feel under siege. So I'm certainly, putting into place I'm eager to get the recommended reforms from the commissioner so we can put those into place and continue to reduce the discourtesy complaints and the police brutality complaints in the city. So thank you again.
Thank you, Mr. Griffin. Those of you who are just joining us, at any time you would like to ask the mayor a question, please press 0. You can press 0 at any time during the call, and we will have volunteer operators who will take your name, your neighborhood, and a brief synopsis of your issue. Madam Mayor, on the line right now with us is Mr. Glenn. Mr. Glenn is calling from the Bel Air Edison neighborhood. Mr. Glenn, are you on the line?
I certainly am. Good evening, Madam Mayor. I'm concerned about a vacant house in the area that has been burnt out, boarded up. It's a dumping spot for vagrants and what have you. Is it anything you can do to find out what's going on with getting this place back to be occupied?
I can. I'm going to ask you to hold on the line. Do we have access for one of the callers to get the information with the address from Mr. Glenn? We do?
Yeah.
All right. So Mr. Glenn, I'm going to ask you to hold on the line, and one of our volunteers that are here this evening will pick up the line and get that information, and we will get an answer to you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Madam Mayor.
Thank you for the call.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Glenn.
Before we go in, I do want to say that the issue of vacant housing is something that is very important to me. One of the first things I did when I became mayor is ask the Housing Commissioner to take a look at our initiatives around blight elimination. I felt very strongly that we could do a better job than we were doing when it came to how we sell city-owned vacant property, what we do to promote better stewardship of property by individuals who are investors, and how we could use the tools that were available to us to strengthen the community. So that is how we developed the Vacants to Value, or V2V program. We have a series of incentives, home buying incentives, that will allow individuals who are interested in purchasing a home to have assistance at closing. We also have initiated a program where communities could adopt vacant lots and turn them into community green space, and we just had a design competition, a green design competition, with organizations all over the city who have come up with creative ways to redevelop vacant lots to beautify their communities. So Vacants to Value, for those of you who are on the line, I would ask if you have any interest in our efforts to eliminate blight in the city, that you take a look at the Baltimore City website and the housing website for Vacants to Value and learn more about that program. We've received international acclaim for it being an innovative urban urban redevelopment, innovative urban redevelopment initiative. I'm very proud of that work.
All right. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Next up, we have from Southwest Baltimore, Ms. Gertrude Hack from the Allendale Community Association, a community association I'm very familiar with. Ms. Hack, are you on the line?
Yes, I am. Good evening, Madam Mayor.
Ms. Gertrude, how are you?
I'm doing good.
Wonderful.
The reason I'm calling is there's an ever-increasing number of vacant properties within our area. Many of them, the gutters are falling, the roofs are falling, the aluminum siding is falling and flapping, and I would like to know what can be done, because some of them are city-owned properties.
All right. So, Ms. Gertrude, I know that we have a Mayor's Office of Neighborhood representative that works with your community association. Do you know if you've communicated the addresses so we can follow up?
I have with, should I give you his name?
No, I know who it is. I want to know if you haven't followed up. I'll make sure that he calls you.
Yes, I have. I've given the addresses to
so we'll make sure
all the properties.
To follow up, we will certainly give our immediate attention to the city-owned properties. And you know that we've used in your community before the $900 citation on the ones that are not city-owned properties to get the homeowners to, either fix the properties up or sell them to someone who will. And I'll ask our housing enforcement to give your community, to give your community some special attention.
And I know one of the houses, BGE, said they will not turn gas and electric on because it's in such bad condition.
Right. So I will make sure if your mayor's office neighborhood liaison doesn't reach out this evening, he'll reach out first thing in the morning.
Good. Thank you so much. You have a blessed evening.
It was good to hear from you.
Thank you, Ms. Hack. Next up, Madam Mayor, before we go to the next call, I just want to remind listeners that those of you who are just joining us and you would like to ask a question of Mayor Rawlings Blake, at any time you can press 0, and we will definitely plug you into a volunteer operator. Again, press 0 if you would like to ask a question. Next up, Madam Mayor, we have Ms. Debbie Alston calling from Sedonia. Ms. Alston, are you on the line?
Yes, I am.
Madam Mayor?
Good evening, Madam Mayor. Hello?
Yep. Hi, Ms. Alston. Do you have a question for me?
Hi. Yes, I do. Actually, it's a few things. I have a whole bunch of concerns, but I've tried to limit.
All right.
One of them has to do with, in this community, and I understand everybody calls them field mice. I am truly terrified of such things. And I know that I've had to do things, and it doesn't matter. Those little things come because there's a creek nearby. So what is done to try to eradicate those things, if at all possible?
So, again, thank you for taking the call and for your question. A couple of things. A lot of the work that we're doing in Department of Public Works Solid Waste Division is focused on how we can do a better job with rat and rodent abatement in the city. I've asked for the Department of Public Works to take a review and work to come up with some innovative solutions for how we can do a better job with rat abatement and rodent abatement. I was in the council first in 1995, and I've never experienced a budget season where there was satisfaction around our rat abatement efforts in the city. So I challenged the Solid Waste Division, DPW and Solid Waste, to come up with some better options for us. Basically, they said we have to be able to build a better mousetrap. We have to be able to do it better. So we've instituted some pretty creative things with the street sweeping that we've taken all throughout the city, and we also piloted alley sweeping in the areas that also have the pilot municipal trash can. We're looking for ways that we can, in the pilot program for the alley sweeping and with the municipal trash can, what we're looking to see if those programs can help us make progress when it comes to reducing the amount of rodents that we have in our city. So we are instituting those things and looking to see if the progress helps.
All right, we thank you, Ms. Alston. Next up, we have Mr. Barry Watson calling from Cold Spring, Newtown. Mr. Watson, are you on the line?
Yes, good evening. Good evening, Mayor.
Hi, how are you?
Fine. My question has to do with the police department. What is your stance on video body cameras for Baltimore City Police?
I'm very interested in getting a thorough report from the commissioner on the use of body cams and other things that we can do in a comprehensive way to address the issue of police brutality and bring more transparency to the police department. Well, I talked about earlier on the call about the public safety forums, and in every single public safety forum, whether the individuals vocalized it or if they wrote it in the citizens that participated wrote it in their survey, the issue of police brutality was a primary concern. And because it is a primary concern and it is a complex issue. What I want is a comprehensive set of reforms and not a piecemeal approach. Many people have suggested body cameras as a solution to police brutality. I don't think that it is. It might be part of the solution, but I think that in order to fully respect the concerns that were raised by the citizens that were there, I think we need a more comprehensive set of solutions. We also have to take a look at the privacy implications with the cameras, the body cams, as well as the cost of them as well. So I've asked the police commissioner and his team to come up with with recommended reforms so we can eliminate police brutality in our city and increase transparency and rebuild trust between the police and our communities.
Thank you, Mr. Watson. Again, those of you who are just joining us and you would like to ask a question of Mayor Rawlings Blake, you can press 0 at any time, and you will be joining a pool of neighbors from around the city who are spending time on the line listening to issues that matter most to them. Next up, Madam Mayor, we have Mr. Paul Hartzell from Reservoir Hill. He has a question. Paul,
Hello?
are you on the line?
Okay, yes. Hello, Madam Mayor.
Hi, how are you, sir?
Okay, how's your health?
I am feeling a lot better. Not 100%, but I'm getting there.
All right, well, you got a tough job, but somebody's got to do it.
Yes,
but listen, I had to think about noise pollution, but before that, I want to do a shout-out for Cookie up in the John Eager Howard Rec Center up in Reservoir Hill. She is so great.
Oh, thank you for that. I'll make sure she gets that.
Oh, she better, hopefully. And listen, about the rat problem back in the late 70s, I've been living in Reservoir Hill 42 years this November, and Don Torres was the head of the health department, and we worked out a deal, and I baited 4 square blocks in Reservoir Hill, and we don't have a problem. And all you got to do is do a concentrated thing, and get keys to people's backyards and make sure they don't have pets, and it works. But my main problem is noise pollution. I've been here at North Avenue and Mount Rural Terrace and the Jones Falls. They're not only the dirt bikes, but what they call those bicycles. I mean, not bicycles. The other bikes that make noise at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. I have no idea why the fire department needs to use diesel horns at 3 o'clock in the morning. There's hardly any traffic, and also the dump trucks and the milk trucks that come down here and what they call jackbreaking. What can we do about noise pollution? When I was 16 years old, the police used to pull me over for a muffler violation.
Yeah, so I will definitely take. I know that if you hold on the line, I can make sure that one of my staffers gets back and gets some more information. I want to make sure that I understand exactly what you're talking about. There are recommendations or requirements that have changed since the 70s on how we enforce noise pollution, and I share your concern that the way that we enforce it now, it makes it more difficult to hold people accountable for the noise that we're making. So I would like to get more information so we can follow up directly.
All right, thank you. And next up, Madam Mayor, moving along, we have Erica calling from North Baltimore. Erica, you're on the line.
Hi, Mayor Rawlings Blake.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. And I'm a big supporter of yours, and, I wish you another 6 years. I do have a question. Do you think that having the city council to vote on making Anthony Betts our police commissioner for the next 6 years was a bit premature?
Oh, it has nothing to do with what I think. It's the charter requirement. The charter requires that certain positions, certain appointed positions, have their executive appointment or have their term confirmed on a schedule. So Commissioner Batts, according to the charter, it's on a 6-year cycle. He came in and completed the the unexpired term of the previous commissioner. So when he got confirmed, he could only get confirmed for that term, the term that he was, that the existing term that was left on Bielfeld. The charter requires at the end of that term, whoever the commissioner is, be reconfirmed or confirmed. There be a fresh confirmation hearing. So we were just following the charter.
All right. We thank you, Erica, from North Baltimore. Next up, Madam Mayor, we have Darren Gibson calling from Northeast Baltimore. Darren, you're on the line.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My question is, I saw you in the news over the summer about repairing the sewage lines in the city. I live up here on the corner of Brook Avenue and Raff Avenue. If it, during the wintertime, during the storms, if it's raining for 2 to 3 days in a row, it'd be so much rain that the pressure from that line, it gets into the sewage line, that it lifts the cap up off, the manhole cover off the sewage line, and then all the sewage backs up into my house and my neighbor's house, and we're not able to use any water or anything in our house, or it just overflows into our home. And I'm wondering why is so much of the storm water going into the sewage line instead of the storm drains?
So I want you to understand this is a problem that I am very aware of. One of the things I do in my role at the U.S. Conference of Mayors, I'm the co-chair of the Mayor's Water Council, and it's because of those issues that we face. We live in an old city with old infrastructure, and we have the problems that you have with any old infrastructure. We have the sewer backups. We have the water mains that break consistently. Every day there is a break or a leak somewhere. So we're working very hard, and that's what you saw me on television doing, talking about the fact that we're aggressively working to upgrade our sewer system. And part of that, what you've also seen is my sensitivity to the fact that as we're doing this work, if there is a issue on the resident side of the sewer line, those are the responsibility of the residents. So that is why I asked for my team to put out an RFP for the protection, the homeowner's protection. So if something happened, whether it was as a result of a repair or just in general, if something happened to your as you say that you have these issues with the sewer line, if something happens, that if you would have a very low cost protection plan where that money wouldn't have to come out of your pocket. I understand that so many people are living paycheck to paycheck, and if they have to face spending that money on a couple of $1,000s on a repair for whatever reason, it would be, those repairs would be cost prohibitive, and that's another reason why I asked for that protection plan for us to put out an RFP so we could provide that level of protection to citizens. So with respect to that exact location, you've given me the location, and I will have DPW follow up. I know that there are things we can do to flush the line and investigate, and we will make sure that we do that.
Thank you, Mr. Gibson.
I just wanted to go back to the question that I think it was Erica asked about the previous commissioner, and I want to make it clear that the confirmation hearing is something that's required. The confirmation hearing, the term is required by charter. That doesn't, none of us have job security here, including me. I understand that. So it is certainly not to say that that the commissioner is not going to, his performance isn't going to be reviewed until 6 years from now. But I also want to make it clear that he inherited an agency that was broken in many ways, and it does take time to fix it. And I picked Commissioner Batts because he was a reformer or is a reformer, and he is in sync with my priorities and certainly in sync with my belief that the only way that we're going to be a safer city is by working closely with our communities.
Madam Mayor, I just wanted, before we go to the next call, some of the callers who have called tonight joined you on a one-on-one about picking the next commissioner.
Yeah, they
It
did.
was important for you to get the input from the community. I don't know if you want to talk about that for a moment before we go to the next call.
Before I went into the interview process, I met with, I think, 34 community leaders and asked them, if you were in my seat, what would you look for in a police commissioner? And it didn't matter what community the individual came from. They all said the same thing. They wanted a partner. They wanted someone who would understand that they are partners in making a safer Baltimore. They also said that they wanted the best. You know, they wanted us. There were very few people that said that they had a preference on anything. You know, man, woman, black, white. You know, Baltimorean or somewhere else. They said we want you to get us the best person to work with us to make our city safer. And those were the priorities that I took into the interview process, and I think we found it.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Okay, next up, callers on the line, neighbors. Joining us is Miss Dorothy Johnson from Southwest Baltimore. Madam Mayor, Miss Johnson, are you on the line?
Yes, I am. How you doing, Madam Mayor?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm good. My concern is not for me. It's concerning my daughter. Mm-hmm. She lives out in Cherry Hill housing, and she's been having problems. She lives in between two vacant houses. One of the houses, the water pipe busted twice, flooded her house. The ceiling fall down. She got pictures of everything, the damage to her house. Now, they came and patched everything up. In the meantime, her and my grandchildren are living out there with mold. And there's been mold since the first pipe busted at the vacant house next door to her. And I'm very concerned about my daughter and my grandchildren. And also, they've been having a lot of break-ins out there. And her house been broken into twice. She caught one young gentleman about a week or so ago climbing through her bathroom window. And I'm very concerned.
Ms. Johnson, is she living in a private home or is she living in public housing?
Public housing, yes.
All right.
She living in public housing. And she done contacted the office manager. She done contacted people down on Fayette Street and everything, and she's not getting no response or no help.
Well, let me look into it for you.
Thank you, please, because I'm really concerned about the breaking and the mold.
Of course.
You know, so she's been still living with the mold since the first time the water pipe burst next door to her.
Yeah,
she had a lot of water damages, and she can send you the pictures that she took of the damages to her house.
Yeah, I take your word for it, and I also know that we expect the same thing for residents that are living in public housing that we do for any other resident. That if they have concerns, that they're being addressed, and I will certainly follow up. We have your contact information, so we can follow. I will follow up with HABC to make sure that they are on this issue immediately.
Okay, so when you contact me, I can give you her information.
Yep.
Her name and address and phone number and everything. I don't want to give it over the air.
Of course,
yes.
Of course. That's what I'm saying. We have your contact information. We will get all of the information, and we will follow up immediately.
Thank you so much, Madam Mayor, and you get well.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Johnson. Again, those of you who are joining us and you would like to ask Mayor Rawlings Blake a question, please press 0 at any time, and we will make sure that we include you in the queue. Next up, we have Miss Knight. Miss Knight is calling from Penn Hill, from the Penn Hill community. Miss Knight, are you on the line?
Yes, I am.
Hi, Miss Knight.
Hi, Madam Stephanie Rawlings. This is Miss Knight. I live in Penn Hills, near off of Emerson Avenue.
Okay.
And my question is, I'm excited about the fact that you want to grow Baltimore because I think it's very important. But my concern is on the high property tax.
Mm-hmm.
I live in an area that's wonderful. I love the area. I love my neighbors. I've even, shopped around and found the best, homeowners insurance. But the property tax is so high. What is it? And I don't have the data on the property tax for Baltimore in comparison with Baltimore County and other states and districts, but I believe we're quite high. What
we are. We're double what the Baltimore County is. That's why I've worked so hard, even in the midst of the recession, to drive down Baltimore's property tax. I've made more cuts to the property tax rate than any mayor in recent history. And there are more cuts coming. I understand in order for us to grow our city, we have to be competitive. We have to not just attract residents, but give people who are here more reasons to stay. And the property tax continues to be a challenge. So that is why I'm very focused through my 10-year financial plan on continuing to reduce property tax.
All right. Well, thank you for that call. Next up, Madam Mayor, we have Mr. Edward Murray calling from Federal Street. Mr. Murray, are you on the line?
Yes, hello.
Hi, how are you, sir?
How you doing? I hope you're feeling well.
I'm getting better, not 100%, but I'm getting there.
Okay, you're doing a good job, too.
People with
I don't care
bronchitis.
what nobody say. You guys, good. You're doing a good job.
Thank you, sir.
My question for you is, I went to fill out an application for senior housing on Broadway and Higger Street. And with my wife being 3 years younger than me, and when I would turn 62, it say 62 and over, but they told me she couldn't move in with me, and I didn't understand that. And my question is that legal?
Yeah, that does sound odd. Because you were applying for it, but I don't know all of the rules off the top of my head. I can certainly look into it and have my team get back in touch with you. We do have your contact information, right, for Mr. Murray? Yes, they're telling me we do. So I will follow up and get you, I will get for myself and for you a better understanding of what those rules are, because it doesn't sound like it makes sense, but I certainly am not, I'm speaking from a common sense perspective, not a federal rules perspective. So we'll take a look.
All right, thank you, sir. Next up, we have Francis Jimenez. Hello. Francis, are you on the line?
I'm on the line.
Okay, do you have a question?
Yes, Mayor. Good evening.
Good evening.
I heard on radio about your welcoming new immigrants to Baltimore City. I would like to know more about what you're doing. I myself am an immigrant from Mexico City, and I've lived in Maryland.
So we have a New Americans Task Force, and what I've asked was for members of the community to help me develop plans and strategies to make Baltimore a more welcoming place for new Americans. When you have a diverse community, you have a stronger community. Having a strong immigrant community brings jobs to the community, as well as creates the Baltimore that we all know and love. People who are from Baltimore know that Baltimore has always been a city that has grown because of the strength of immigrants, people who come from different countries and are proud of their heritage and bring that pride to their neighborhoods. And I think that it's important that we, as we continue to grow, that we look back at the ways that Baltimore was a thriving and growing city in the past, and look at that for ways that we can continue to grow Baltimore again. So that's why I created the Mayor's Office on Immigration and Multicultural Affairs, which was one of the recommendations from the task force, and that's why we continue. We just put out a task force report that has suggestions for how we can work together to make Baltimore a better city for new Americans, and that information is available online. So thank you very much for your call.
All right, thank you, sir. And next up, we have Ms. Cecilia Assam. Ms. Cecilia,
hello,
are you?
Madam Mayor. How are you?
Good, thank you.
I was very curious about the PAL program that used to exist. When I entered the call, you were discussing the new recreation centers, and I think that's fabulous. But I realize, I am realistic, that it's going to take several years before those kinds of recreation centers can be placed throughout the community. So I was wondering, now would be a great time to reinstitute the PAL program with the issues that have arisen with police brutality and them not understanding the kids and the kids not trusting them. I thought the PAL program was a great thing at one time, and I never understood why it was disbanded. Could you speak?
Yeah, under the previous mayor, Mayor Dixon, closed the PAL centers before I was mayor, and that was one of the things that I took a look at when I became mayor. That it was important for me to be fiscally prudent, but also be socially responsible. So before I made any recommendations on any closures of recreation centers, we made a comprehensive plan, and that plan was to look at the centers that were out of date and look for ways that we can improve them. And we did close centers, but we closed them so we could grow new centers, and we're already doing that. We've broken ground on a new community center model in Morrill Park. We've expanded the center in Northeast Baltimore, or it would be East Baltimore. We have another recreation center plan for Cherry Hill the larger community center plan for 2016. And part of the main reason why I was interested in selling the assets of the parking garages was to be able to finance even more of that work. So while the PAL Center was one part of that, any thought of reinstituting that would take time as well. And we're focused on getting the community rec center model that people said that they wanted when we did the community-based review of the rec centers. I am working to fulfill the wishes of the community as was expressed through that process. I can say that as far as police relations with our young people, the commissioner is working hard to give young people a chance to interact with police officers through recreation, and has worked with recreation and parks to bring recreational opportunities to young people in some neighborhoods, as well as he had an Explorer camp, a kids camp at the police training facility over the summer to give kids an opportunity to engage with police officers in a different way, and they really loved it.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Madam Mayor, and it's good to see that a lot of neighbors are continuing to join us. And those of you who are just joining us and you would like to ask a question of Mayor Rawlings Blake, please press 0 at any time. And next up, Madam Mayor, we have Miss Dolores Locks calling from Northwest Baltimore. Miss Locks, are you on the line?
Yes. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Miss Mayor.
Hi, how are you doing, Miss Locks?
I'm good. I was a big fan of your dad's.
Oh, thank you.
Mayor, I have a problem. I belong to my neighborhood association, and I try to keep my area, up to par. But in the rear of my house is a vacant lot. It belongs to the city. And in order for me to get the lot cut, I have to call the city and wait 7 days or so many days for them to come out and cut it. I have called forestry to come out and do the trees. We have the brown trees on the lot that are dead. They will not come down and treat the trees or take care of the trees. And we have the rodent problem. I feel the neighbors are partly responsible because they pack junk underneath the trees. They throw out refrigerators, all sorts of junk underneath the trees, and that causes the rodents too. So I'm wondering what we can do or what kind of help we can get for this area.
Well, I'm going to ask you to stay on the line so we can follow up and get the exact address of the city lot. One of the things that we've worked on under my administration is doing a better job with proactive cleaning of problem lots, and it seems like this is a lot that should be on that list that is not. So we are going to get that information and make sure that we proactively, clean those lots. With respect to the other things, that's why it was important for me to bring the street sweeping throughout the city. We saw that street sweeping was helpful in not just the cleanliness, but the health of the commercial corridors and it was helping us with the rodent population. That's why I was pleased to be able to bring street sweeping to every neighborhood in the city, and that's why we're piloting the alley sweeping and the municipal trash cans. We are looking for innovative solutions to these intractable problems, and the rodent problem has been one that has been around for as long as I can remember. As a Baltimore City, as someone who's born and raised in Baltimore, as long as I can remember, we've had issues with rodents. So I've tasked and challenged my team to look for new ways to attack the problem so we can make some headway.
All right, we thank you, Ms. Cecilia, for your call. Next up, Madam Mayor, we have Miss Tinson,
yes,
calling from Utah Place in West Baltimore. Are you on the line, Ms. Tinson?
Yes, I am. Good evening, Madam Mayor. My complaint is I live in the 2500 block of Utah Place, directly across from the reservoir. And in order to get to my block, we have to come through this small street called Brooks Lane.
Yeah, I'm very familiar with that.
Okay, when you come through there, you have to edge your car out as far as you can because you can't see the traffic coming. So you edge out, and you're hoping that you don't get hit. So I was wondering if it's possible to put like a stop sign on Utah and a stop sign on Brooks Lane so you take turns like you do on some streets. When I get there, I stop. And if it's my turn to go, I go. And one more thing, like the reservoir, you remember you had that fountain coming up?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I was wondering whether that would ever be fixed again.
Okay, so I'm going to go first and talk about the transportation issue. I'm going to work through your community association and Department of Transportation to do a traffic study. I don't want to say that we can put a stop sign there without doing the background work, and with a full understanding that stop signs are just one option for traffic safety and control. So I'll definitely forward your concern, and I'm very familiar. I'm in that community a lot, and I'm very concerned with that intersection that you're talking about and how you have to edge out. I have a family that lives in that area, and like I said, I'm very familiar with that intersection. I will say, with respect to the fountain in Druid Hill Lake, what we have planned for Druid Hill Lake is much more spectacular than the fountain has ever been. We are planning for major renovations in Druid Hill Park and in the lake. Because of the unfunded mandates of the federal government for how we deal with or how we protect our potable water, we're required to make upgrades and in the way that we process the water at Druid Hill Park. What that is allowing us to do, because we are taking a very creative approach to that, is allowing us to make wonderful upgrades to the lake and to the park, and that will allow us to bring back recreational use to the Druid Hill Lake. If you remember old pictures of Baltimore City, you would see people who were fishing in the lake and were riding boats, little sailboats with the parasols. I don't know if we're going to get any women out there with the parasols again, but we're going to be able to have boating on the lake because of the creative way that we are meeting the EPA requirements by enhancing the offering. So I am thrilled, and I know that the Department of Recreation and Parks and DPW presented to your community association the planned upgrades for the park, and everyone, they was the only time they said that Rec and Parks received a standing ovation, from the community. So we were pleased with that. Pleased with that presentation. Pleased with the plans, and thrilled about what's coming to Druid Hill Park.
I am absolutely thrilled about it myself, Madam Mayor. Next up, and I'm excited to say that there are hundreds of you who are remaining on the line as we take our next call. Madam Mayor, we have Ms. Rosalie Scott calling from Coppin State. Ms. Scott, are you on the line?
Yes, I am. Good afternoon, Mayor.
Hi, how are you?
Yeah, it's a pleasure to, for the first time in my lifetime, to get to speak to you. And I heard that you wasn't really feeling well, but you sound like you're doing much better. But I live on Dukeland, the 1800 block, right off of North Avenue, right down the street from Coppins University, as it is. And in this area, I know that 311 have received at least, I know, 50 to 75 calls from me. I don't know if anyone else is calling. But we have an alley that runs right across the 1800 block of Dukeland. And on that one side, what used to be garages. I only wish you could, like I know sometimes you all take walks, I only wish you could just walk up that alley and see. It's so devastating, all the trash and I'm sure garbage and everything else that they just throw up in there. And it is really the worst that I have ever seen. When I think about those garages, because I've lived in this area for many, many years, too long, I guess, and there was a time when my dear husband, may his soul rest in peace, used to rent one of those garages. Well, if he saw that space now, well, he would never ever want to even think that he ever put his car in there. But in the years past, since it has been falling apart, well, not to say that the city hasn't been there like a few times, to clear it out. But then as soon as it's cleared out, well, they come from everywhere. I guess some in the neighborhood and some from far off places, because by being there and nobody can see it, well, they just, everything goes, mattresses and tires and trash and everything else. And I have called 311 so many times asking them, is there a possibility of putting, I know they say no dumping signs help any, but they've got to help some. If they could please put some no dumping signs, or put a light up there and just snap pictures of those that's using that as a dumping ground.
So, Ms. Scott, thank you so much for staying on the line, and thank you for the question. Illegal dumping is something that just really gets under my skin, and it's for a couple of reasons. I know that you say people are coming from faraway places, but we also know in far too many of our communities we're dumping ourselves, and we are creating an unhealthy environment and a filthy environment for our residents, and certainly not setting the example that we want to set for our kids. That's why it was important for me to pass legislation to advocate for legislation and get passed legislation that increases the penalties for illegal dumping. We also instituted illegal dumping cameras throughout the city. So we have some areas that are known for illegal dumping where we've been able to get convictions for offenders who are dumping illegally in our city. So I will certainly have the DPW and housing take a look at what's going on and figure out if what the location you're talking about in the alley behind Dukeland would be a suitable fit for our camera system, as well as we'll take a look at those signs as well, and we'll do that in collaboration with your community association. And I want to thank you very much for the question.
Thank you, Ms. Scott. And next up, we have Ms. Irma Jackson calling from the Bel Air Edison neighborhood. Ms. Jackson, are you on the line?
Yes, I am. Good
Do you have a
evening,
question
madam.
for me, Ms. Jackson?
Yes, I'm glad you're feeling well. And my question is, they had a lady came around and they put poster signs up as far as getting this the clean the people to come past and do the blocks. As of yet, we haven't seen anyone. They have on my side, the even side, all the cars was removed. I guess about maybe 2 or 3, as far as I could see from my porch, and no one came around, and we're still having trouble out the rats. I know it's epidemic, all around, but we get them from the uneven side, and they'll come over on the even side. I have been sitting on my porch several times, even in the daytime, rats come up on your porch, and it's kind of hard to to set out there after it get dark because you don't know when one will come across the lawn and just come up on your porch. And we try to keep distant, and from Bel Air Road up to about my house is about the 12th house from Bel Air Road, and we try to keep it clean. But you got the grown-ups, kids from school, everywhere. They will just come up eating, and they throw the bottles and everything all in the street. And up at the top of the block, you have some that do clean, and then you have some that don't do anything. It's the same thing down at the end of my block. And it's getting to be hectic now. Out back, they said that when the garbage people come past to clean, collect the trash and all, that it will have a truck to come through there. Has none of that been done? And so far, we try to keep it clean because we have different ones work with them. I myself, before I became an amputee, I used to get out there and clean from the street light down to the corner. Would help with a couple of kids, but I'm not able to get out there and do that.
It is frustrating, Ms. Jackson, to take a look at the way that kids are. That people just are not being good stewards with the environment. I remember growing up with Trash Ball and all these different campaigns that helped us keep the city clean, and we've worked very hard to look for new ways, innovative ways, and really, and some are youth-led ways to change that behavior in young people. Because that's the only way it's going to change. We'll never have enough street sweepers or hokey men to clean up if people are going to continue to illegally dump and to have very poor habits when it comes to litter. With respect to the street sweeping, this program is still getting up and running. Later this week, I'm going to be announcing more trucks will be added to the routes for this program. Since we started the street sweeping, we've been able to take over 1,400 tons of trash off the streets, and that's a big deal, but there's so much more that needs to be done. So stay tuned, and hopefully we'll get you some more information. If you don't see it on the news, we'll make sure that hopefully your community association will spread that word as well. We know that there are some communities that the implementation of the street sweeping has not gone smoothly, and we're working to address that so it can be a functioning program throughout every neighborhood in the city.
And Madam Mayor, on that note, we're extending to you an opportunity for a few closing remarks and closing us out for tonight.
All right, thank you so much, Gus. I hope everyone enjoyed being on the call. I am certainly very grateful that you stayed on the call. I was grateful. I know that a lot of people had questions. It's impossible for us to get to everyone that had a question. I want you to know that 311 will remain live until 10 p.m. tonight. If you have a concern that you want to address with them, please reach out. Again, I know that the progress that we all want to see for Baltimore we'll be able to make by working together, and an important part of working together is these conversations. So with that, and with a prayer in my heart that the O's make it all the way to the World Series, and with the gratitude for that win over Cleveland yesterday, I will say I hope everyone has a wonderful evening. Did you want to say anything before we close?
No, man, I think you did well.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Take care.